Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove Case. Today we're focusing in on the key theme of witness intimidation from the perspective of Kaden Pressy, based on a particular post that's come about on Facebook. Though when I give my analysis, I'm going to understand it from Kaden's point of view and the situations he's been put in or put himself in, the positives and negatives that have come with it, but also importantly, giving that balanced perspective from the other side, whether you call it the dark side or what, other party goers, their participation or more so lack of it, and how it differs amongst one another. Because at this moment in time, the heavy focus may be on Kaden Pressy is the victim, end of, besides Noah Presgrove. But has there ever been a time where other party goers have been victims to possible harassment or extreme questioning in unnatural ways, but people were given a free pass there because you're allowed to attack the dark side without consequences, but the moment you question the positive light side, there are consequences. And at least from my point of view, in recent time, I've seen it more now than ever before. I've seen how one-sided it is, and it is quite embarrassing. So when things implode on itself and certain theories or ideas are on the decline, it's because of the behavior of certain individuals. And people are showing their true colors now because exorcist-like wrath is present with a Bible in hand and an upside down cross, all under control, but I don't think other people do. But for those that are currently watching this live premiere, actively engaging in the chat or just simply listening in and you're just watching along, big shout out to those people. Welcome to those watching the live premiere. If you want to share your thoughts, live reactions, use the chat box on the right hand side of the screen. And after watching this video, if you want to drop a comment down below, whether you agree, disagree, if you got questions, feel free to leave them under the video. I'll respond back to the comments at a later point. And if you want to catch up on recent coverage by me, just click where the eye symbol is, top right corner, the drop down box with the full playlist and some loose videos as well. If you want to support this channel in a more practical and anonymous way without greedy YouTube taking a big percentage, the PayPal link to me is down below in the comments, pinned message. You'll find it right at the top. And as well, one last thing, welcome to all the whingy, whiners and cowardly humans that continue to complain and be negative, but still continue to consume this content in a never-ending cycle, right? Nevertheless, we're focusing on key themes and topics today. We'll see if the complainers, whingers and whiners are actually here for the case, if they're actually here to learn or just to complain and go on about my coverage and, in unnecessary, impetuous ways. Time will tell, of course. And what I will just add in as well is, people can try and act smart and have counterpoints and always got a word to say at the end. I've dealt with humans like this in the past, okay? This isn't my first time covering a case community. I've seen it back in 2022. I'm still here. Pretty self-explanatory, right? As for other humans, no longer present. Why? Stamina, war, mental capacity as well. So, the order of how we'll do it today, we'll look at Michael Face's post and some screenshots, which just so happen to be from one of my recent videos, the live chat. See, this is what I find very interesting, not mentioning anybody in particular, but if any humans along the way complain about my videos or coverage, the same individuals that may obsess, the same individuals that will then use, not in particular with today, but other times, will use screenshots from my content, screenshots from my live chat, so then they can create discussions, they can ask questions, they can push certain outcomes, ideas, and themes and problems in the case. And at the same time, people are saying, oh, your coverage, ref, your style, your presence, YouTube doing this and that, oh, it's all wrong, it's all bad, it's not professional. If it's that bad, then why are you taking such a great interest in using my content and or just using my live chat then? because it will be of interest, won't it, if you're going to be using it, if it can help you with your own stuff. So it does complement the case, it does complement the community, but you just can't admit it. I don't know if there's some kind of like sexual frustration or tension building up in people's mindsets, but it's a little bit silly, is it not? That aside, just want to make these observations as we go along, because these observations and predictions do come true, and it might strengthen with time. Feel free to take notes there. But look at Michael Facecast, see what he's got to say, look at the comment section where it puts into perspective, and then possibly check out Jan Fiorillo's paragraph as well. And then I want to tie it in line with my analysis in general to try and set the record straight with a form of common sense. Let's begin. This particular post can be located on the case discussion group. Michael Facecast one day ago reads, "Folks, this is what we call a textbook witness intimidation. Under Oklahoma law, witness intimidation is addressed in Title 21, Section 455 of the Oklahoma statutes. This statute criminalizes the willful prevention or attempt to prevent any person from giving testimony or producing evidence in any civil or criminal proceeding. The offence is classified as a felony punishable by imprisonment for up to 10 years. But first of all, are we talking about informal settings? What about the public environment? Because we're not in court, we're not in a police station, we're not in an interview room, we're just in a public online chat or forum in which Kaden Pressy has, put himself out there. And then when you put yourself out there, just like how anyone could, there could be responses of criticism and much more. And as for Kaden Pressy, is Kaden Pressy a witness or just a person of interest? Or is it the same thing? It's interesting this, and we'll see some comments below. At the federal level, witness intimidation is governed by US 18 code, whatever. Tampering with a witness, a victim, or an informant. See, this is the thing. If you go out of your way as a form of intimidation, threats to corrupt, persuade, influence, delay, or prevent the individual from giving a testimony or their true, experience and knowledge of what they are aware of, you create like an unnatural effect onto them, which then harms the case. You could ask yourself, are people going out of their way to do all that? Or is it a bit of give and take in which Kaden puts himself out there and then there's a response back from others? People should be able to control themselves, of course. But, it can't just be one-sided. You get what I'm saying? If you're a witness, if you're very close to the case, then maybe you shouldn't be putting yourself out there publicly that much on display. Maybe you should try and keep low, lay low to protect yourself and only answer and ask to those that need answers. And those that want answers, you don't bother with. Well, that's Kaden Pressy's motto, at least in the past. When he was having that first phone call in a car on vacation in 2024, was it in June or just before June, where speaking to Anthony Linares for the first time, part of the police, and Kaden said to him that I will only reach out and talk to people in regards to those that need to know about information and, witness testimony and whatnot. And those that need to know would likely be members of authority who are assigned to the case because Kaden wants to cooperate with them in order to make progress and help solve the case and justice for Noah. Those that want to know, Kaden will not bother with. And yet ever since, Kaden has bothered and teased to an extent with the general public. And when I say tease, I don't mean negatively, but not answering everything or not directly answering the question, and then other times only mentioning certain points or going over the same previous point, which may not quite link to the current question. So it's very interesting the way this is going. Severity of offence with imprisonment terms ranging from up to 20 years for threats or intimidation to life imprisonment if the tampering results in the death of the witness. These laws are designed to uphold the integrity of the judicial process by ensuring the witnesses can provide truthful testimony without fear of retaliation or coercion. So, at least how Michael Facecast is getting it here, whether he copied and pasted this and then provided examples below of a witness been on the receiving end of attacks, questioning and unnatural force, which is, wrong to do, and you could get in trouble with police. Hasn't there been times in the past where maybe people on the light side have gone all in on the dark side with Jack Newton, or maybe Carter, maybe Avery, maybe some others to a slight degree? Even though those type of people haven't put themselves out there as much as Kaden has. See, this is the way I say it. If you put yourself out there and you put yourself in shark-infested waters and you're a witness, you're kind of teasing the bad people coming to attack and intimidate you. If you know it's dangerous, then maybe you shouldn't put yourself in certain situations to protect yourself and to protect the case. Because at the end of the day, does the general public need to know everything? No, not really. There'll be many cases in life where it goes on in the background and people never know or learn about it up until it comes to a head, and there we go, it's solved. See, at the end of the day, the people that mainly reached out for maybe some kind of help and voice would be Noah Presgrove's family, and that makes sense. As for the other partygoers, I don't think they reached out publicly for help in the first place. So if they didn't reach out to the public in the first place, then they don't really owe the public anything to begin with, as for example, answers. If you get other party goers and witnesses that didn't put themselves out there much in the first place, but they have been intimidated or questioned or harassed, that could be considered worse. But oh no, that's a free pass. That's acceptable because they're just straight up killers and murderers. So we're allowed to intimidate them. We're allowed to question them. We're allowed to push. We're allowed to insult to an extent. And when I say, oh, because they're murderers, I'm using that in terms of like a rough quote, what people have referenced in the past, where people back then with limited context and knowledge have straight up said Jack Newton is a murderer, is the murderer. I've seen it. I've witnessed that. You could come up with a theory idea that Jack could be responsible or knows something. But that's just like a little idea, a concept. You're unsure, but that's where you're at the moment. People in the past have worded it as if they just know as a fact, and there's not enough evidence to back that up, but it's just really bold and very reckless, but it's also very one-sided, the overall mentality at times, the way you look at it. Now, in terms of this witness intimidation, we'll look at the photos here. Example. So unfortunately, it doesn't quite show everything on screen. I could try and zoom in and move it a bit to the left if possible. So this is actually one of my videos, hence why you can see my face. And for anyone wondering what was in the background, that is a gorilla. Why is it there? Felt like it as a bit of a background thing, that's all. So I'm guessing this could be from Michael Facecar's point of view maybe. He was watching my video at the time, live chat replay. You see what I'm saying? It just goes to show that even when people complain about my videos or the content of it in the case, people still find use and purpose with getting screenshots of the live chat, where it brings the right people together at the right time, and you can learn more from there and beyond, and new videos as well. All under control. So what do we have here? Upset nobody took him seriously. He lived with Noah for 7 years. Kaden Pressy, I'll be accepting apologies in ass, missing A. What? Oh. I'll be accepting apologies in ass kissing. Brooke Carter. Me too, Kaden. I wouldn't show my face in public if I were y'all. What does that mean exactly? Tell me, I don't believe Kaden is lying. Rebecca, Tim, I'm quite aware of it. Kaden Pressy. I'll be waiting, Brooke. I'll be waiting. Tony says, Kaden shorts were given to Dalen and I can confirm they were the real thing and not fake. Kaden shorts? Why would Kaden shorts be given to Dalen? You mean Noah Presgrove's black shorts? Just as, what about the video of the shorts removal? No one but you had publicly claimed seeing it. Did you tell Robin about it? I guess just as maybe referring to Kaden Pressy there. Because Kaden mentioned about the shorts removal, that he witnessed it himself because Kathy Bingham had the video, showed it to him. But do the Presgrove family know about it? Have they been told? Or has there been a breakdown in communication? Is there anything else? All I'll say is, if you're interpreting it for the first time, just like how I was in the past, when I was covering it from the light side perspective months ago. If I saw this comment here about Kaden Pressy waiting for ass kissings, that could be a bit sarcastic. As for Brooke to say, I wouldn't show my face in public if I were y'all. Could that mean because if you show your face in public, bad things could happen to you? So this could be interpreted as a threatening comment, a form of intimidation upon the witness. Yes, you can interpret it like that. Another way you could interpret it is, don't be showing your face in public because you're a joke or you're a laughing stock. So nothing like really nasty or intimidating like that's going to happen. It's just, the way you've behaved. You shouldn't show your face anywhere in public because of what you have done yourself, the damage you have caused or disruption. You have no right to be here. You're not welcome. Not that anything physically bad's going to happen, but just the atmosphere could be a little awkward and whatnot. I'm just giving it to you in different ways. But for Kaden to respond back saying, I'll be waiting, kind of like doubling down. Well, you're ready, I'm ready to go as well. It's like mutual tension. But let's just see what the other screenshot was. Brooke Carter says to Keith, I do feel they're doing what they can. Of course, we want it done now, but they're working hard on it. I do wish they would make a statement. What, police? Member to Tim, yes, and when he tried to contribute, it looks like he was treated as badly as the mom has been treated, so I wouldn't expect to hear from him again. Who is him? Who's that? Justice Kaden, they were left on bathroom floor after his shower. What, black shorts? Brooke says to Kaden, honey, we know you're lying. Do you that much attention? Does that mean, do you want that much attention so you lie, so you get a reaction? Keith, you all should push for that, Brooke. Kaden Pressy, laughing, crying, I can't wait until time comes. For what? The truth? To come out? Rebecca, okay, spilled a tea. Beauty, statement to public should have been made at the year mark, especially with all the chaos and drama going on. Oh, by the police, a police statement, some kind of police press conference, just to, close the gap of silence, to put things into perspective. Yeah, it would have gone a long way. But, interesting. Do we have really anything else? What's this all about? Oh, was this to do with what was mentioned basically a bit above? Oh, actually, there's some names as well. Case law supporting witness intimidation allegation. Several cases have established that public statements aimed at discrediting or discouraging a witness from participating in a legal process can constitute witness intimidation. See, to be honest, the way Kaden Pressy is himself, if he is on the receiving end of negativity at times, that's unfortunate. He shouldn't have to be put through that. But Kaden Pressy also at times comes across as a strong, resilient individual that won't back down and will continue on, even if there is a level of intimidation. Not to say that the situation is acceptable or fine, there's still maybe problems, but I think Kaden will still push on because he's strong enough. Not that you should have to be, but I'm just giving you an observation along the way. United States versus Edwards. The court found that veiled threats and public pressure can constitute witness tampering under federal law. The, quote, I wouldn't show my face in public statement parallels the type of intimidation recognised in this case. Well, you can interpret it as a form of intimidation. Don't show your face in public because if you do, bad things may happen. It can also be interpreted in other ways and not like complete intimidation. Depends on the strength of it and the outlook of a particular person. State versus Hall. Oklahoma courts found that statements publicly discrediting a witness and pressuring them not to testify can be prosecuted as witness intimidation. This case strongly supports an argument that Brooke Carter's accusation of lying should serve as an effort to deter Kaden from providing testimony. Is this actually official or has it just been typed up by somebody? It's hard to know at this moment in time. United States versus Johnson. This case upheld conviction where the defendant did not explicitly threaten harm, but made statements implying negative consequences for testifying. The "I wouldn't show my face" comment aligns with the kind of statements that courts have deemed intimidating in nature. Legal conclusion. Based on federal and state law, as well as controlling case precedents, the statements made by Brooke Carter should reasonably be interpreted as witness intimidation, public nature, and the comments veiled threat, and the attempt to discredit witness all meet elements of witness tampering. But this is the thing. Even if it's considered bad, people are kind of like all gathering together. Does that make sense? People are coming together as one. If you had it where you had a witness that was keeping to themselves, they were laying low, maybe anonymously, they were keeping the head down, far away from everyone in sight, and then there was an individual or group that then went out their way to intimidate Kaden online or physically in real life, then I would say there's more of a problem there. But it's like, you could put yourself out there, and then you could say, oh, there's a case to punish someone for how they've behaved towards me. But if I didn't put myself out there in the first place, then they wouldn't have attacked me, and then there wouldn't be a case for them to be punished. So you can see the building blocks behind it, how it can come about. Now, as for Kaden himself, he may not be arsed. He may not be bothered. He's like, well, I'm sticking with my truth of what I know of. Don't care what other people think. I'm just going to keep on pushing justice for Noah. All these threats, I don't care. I'm going to keep on going. See, at the end of the day, at times, it actually seems like the general public on behalf of Kaden Pressy are more outraged and triggered than Kaden is himself. So do people need to take a leaf out of the book of Kaden Pressy's nature and mindset of just being resilient and pushing on regardless? There's many ways to look at it, and there are a lot of comments as well to get through. I don't know if I'll look at them all, but we'll just keep it on most relevant. Cecily Patton. Now, this is an individual that Justin Roy has referred to in recent time, and there is a particular post about it. Maybe it needs to be saved for a separate video, possibly. But Cecily says, since you're bringing the legal aspect in, are you stating that Kaden Pressy is in fact a witness? And that's what the key question is. A witness to what? Noah Presgrove's death? The events leading up to Noah leaving the house, a witness to that? Because if Kaden was asleep for most part of it, is he really a witness? Or is he just like kind of to a small extent a person of interest? Interesting, isn't it? See, if Kaden Pressy wasn't a full-on witness because he was innocent, because he had an alibi, by Michael Faizkaz referring to the witness intimidation situation, it's kind of making Kaden actually look more suspicious than what he actually is. So sometimes when people are defending other people on behalf of them, they can dig the other person into a deeper hole than what they were beforehand. So it's kind of the same with, like, you can let people into your country, you can do nice things, you can be goody two-shoes, wet wipes, but you do too much good, you end up causing too much bad long term. There's a bit of an undertone. But let's just see what other points are made. Dakota, is that old deep pockets? Deep pockets who? A reference to the dark side? Michael Faizkaz, yes, it is. Ah, right. Dakota using the term deep pockets in regard to Brooke Bounds Carter. Kind of like a reference to what was supposedly said in the past by Brooke. Do I remember seeing it myself? No, but I do remember hearing the line. Michael Faizkaz acknowledges, Siobhan to Dakota, Brooke Carter isn't even who... What? Brooke isn't even who said that, so no. So Brooke never said that line in the first place, that they've got deep pockets. Was it Stevie Howard? Or another individual? But if that's really the case, and people just stick with certain lines and memorable quotes, but they can't actually correctly link it back to who actually said it, there's not much, stability to start off with in the first place, is there? Jennifer, she didn't say, She didn't say, I would show my face in public. what? Oh, it's just this language and... Kathleen, she means Brooke isn't the one who said anything about the deep pockets. Yeah. Denise, see, this is the thing. I do remember a time where Brooke Bounds Carter says, I'm okay, or I'm happy with my $250,000 salary job. And I guess other people may have interpreted that as deep pockets. But then that's like putting words into people's mouths. Denise Rogers Arnold, well, in my opinion, that was just some good advice, if I'm not mistaken. It's the same advice that she has given the girls. Yeah, so you can look at it in a positive way, but understandably for those that are on the receiving end or against the dark side to begin with, they might not see it that way. But if you're looking at it in a balanced perspective, to say, I wouldn't show my face or I wouldn't show your face in public if I was you, that can be interpreted as a direct threat that if you do, bad things will happen, either by me or by other people that I know of or other people in general. But then the more positive outlook would be, Kaden, based off how things are right now and how other people see you and supposed inaccuracies along the way and much more, I wouldn't show your face in public if I was you because I don't want you getting hurt. I don't want bad things to happen to you. It's a line which can branch off in two different ways, a form of intimidation and a form of care or concern. Of course, people on the light side that have a distaste or have been on the receiving end and supposedly been attacked by Brooke Carter in the past, those people will obviously only see it one way, and that's threats, pretty much. See, you know, in the past, I would have come across the odd comments by people maybe from the dark side and interpreted it as a threat. Maybe because on those occasions it was more a threat and not like a little form of concern, a concerned warning to protect another individual. It was just straight up threats. But this recent one can be interpreted one of two ways. But not everybody will see it from both sides. Because I have right now, that will make me a marked target. And I'm sure there's people watching in the background right now getting ready, anticipating to go on Reddit or on Facebook groups to complain about Warlight Ref for being balanced and, you know, trying to just put it all into perspective. But it needs to be. Jennifer, who told the girls not to show their faces in public? Because I know for certain they're living their lives. People may be living their lives, but to what extent? Via social media or just in real life. There is a difference. And Denise does say, if I'm not mistaken, it's the same advice that Brooke has given to the girls, Avery, Carter, and maybe Logan, to say, if I'm not mistaken, so there's a slight little bit of uncertainty. So it's not said with an absolute level of great confidence as a fact. So there's that bit of language we've got to acknowledge here. Jennifer's like, well, I've never seen it mentioned, that statement or term. Denise, I'm pretty sure Kaden Pressy is living his life too. They're all trying to get through everything. What part of their lives have you seen them living? See, this is the thing. Kaden has put himself out there publicly online, but also in the background, Kaden has been getting by day as best as he can, like how he said in recent time in one of the chats. And, you know, he may have opened up in some ways about other stuff in life or just very general small points, just getting on. Technically, everybody is getting on to some capacity in some ways. If you're still breathing, that counts itself. Maybe it's that comparison or trying to understand. Are we talking about through social media, sharing people's lives, or privately in the background? There's a difference. Siobhan, she didn't say deep pockets. Brooke didn't. Reading comprehension is hard for some. Well, to be honest, some of the reading is difficult to do because people just have terrible sentence structuring, and you see how it is when I'm trying to read. Jennifer, who didn't? I'm not talking about deep pockets. Oh, no. She said, don't show your face in public. And Denise Arnold responded back to Jennifer saying that could be interpreted as a form of concern. Don't show yourself out there in public, Kaden, or, you know, just protect yourself. There's different ways of looking at it, Siobhan. I was talking about deep pockets, so bye. See, this is the thing. People don't know who they're responding back to. It's just all over the bloody place. I wouldn't even bother going on and on because we're just going round in circles, aren't we? Yeah, we're just going on and on and on. We have a hit and run. Oh boy. So you get an idea. Let's just move on. Would he not have needed to witness a crime before he became a witness? Yeah. See, it does come down to what level of a witness a person is to what event that took place. You know, how many people are actually witnesses in the Noah Presgrove case? Tyler H. and Tyler Hardy, a witness to finding Noah's dead body, and supposedly Jack Newton to an extent, depending what timeline you look at. That Kaden Pressy isn't even a witness to when Noah walked out of the house and didn't come back because Kaden was asleep for that. Kaden Pressy wasn't a witness for the side-by-side rollover because he was asleep. Kaden Pressy wasn't a witness to the shower situation. Kaden Pressy wasn't a witness to the sleeping debacle. So what makes Kaden Pressy a witness then? Has Kaden Pressy ever called himself a witness to begin with? Because Michael Face's post implies that Kaden is a witness. And if you're talking about overall in the case, what? A witness to Noah's death? Noah's final breath? It just makes Kaden look more suspicious. And it can be interpreted that the light side is trying to protect Kaden, but they've actually dug Kaden to a bit of a hole now, indirectly. Oh boy. Andrea Jubrov says, what I don't get here is the hypocrisy. If Kaden's a witness, what does that make Jack Newton? Both were sleeping. Everything they say about Kaden could also be applied to Jack, but their bias keeps them from seeing it. Well, what I would say is when it comes to Jack Newton and trying to understand the timing of when he went to sleep, when he truly went to sleep, and obviously the conflict with Kaden's timeline, how it could point Jack, make him stand out more in a suspicious way, doesn't help that, to be fair. But I do kind of understand where Andrea is coming from, in a way. Tim Daniel says, did you ever think that Avery and Carter Combs and Jack Newton are witnesses too? Nobody has a problem intimidating them or publicly calling them murderers. But when Kaden gets questioned about his inconsistencies, whatever, this is so wrong. This is the other thing. There might be other people on the dark side that have questioned Kaden Pressy, may have insulted him, may have supposedly gaslighted him in a more forceful way. And then there's Warlike Wrath that have clearly made the observations and questioned the inconsistencies in a balanced, fair, calm way without insults. And I have been attacked. So use this as a measuring tool. Everybody watching right now, if you've not been attacked yet, just look at me. I do what I can, do the best I can, and try and balance it and provide every perspective possible from all sides. But also, highlight the inconsistencies when it's needed and when it's important. If someone like me can get attacked the way I have done and what people do to me elsewhere and in the background, if I can get attacked like that, then as for you, the chances are 100 times more likely. Shows how shocking it really is. But let's see people's attitudes and responses to what goes on here, because this is where it probably gets a bit heated and there seems to be a lot of responses. Marla says, exactly, Tim. Chalan says, doesn't make it right though. Tim, regardless of who it is, no one should be intimidated, correct? But it does seem to be one-sided as for who can be intimidated or questioned, criticised, and it's a free pass. But then when another particular individual, the same's done there, oh, how could you do that? We're outraged. Outraged now, but not at the time of when other people and their turn was being attacked. Oh, like the social hosting laws. Oh, we're outraged now because it's led to a death, such as with Noah, who's popular. But as for all those parties a weekend before and before that and months ago and years ago, which involved Noah and or other people of younger ages maybe, because there was no deaths there, that's perfectly okay. Yes, underage drinking. Yes, social hosting laws being broken. But we're going to turn a blind eye to that because nothing bad happened there, so it's all okay. But the moment our precious darling is dead, or someone that we know or care about to some extent is impacted, now it's a problem. But don't you think if there was a level of action taken in the first place, if you stick by it and are consistent with justice and following the rules like a goody-goody two-shoe, that social hosting rules being broken, if they were done in the past and broken back then, they should have been checked out, reported, followed up on, so that then in the future, it's less likely for it to happen again and more likely for Noah Presgrove to remain alive. So it's easy to say if Noah Presgrove did this, did that, or had a lift back because he supposedly wanted to get home. If he had his own vehicle with him and his vehicle wasn't faulty, he could have driven back home and he would have been alive till this day. But you know what would have loomed forever and ever? The endless possibilities in the future that as long as Noah spent in the area or around the same set people with the involvement of alcohol and parties like that, which could get a bit reckless or out of hand, and the social hosting rules not being followed up on, there would still be the inevitable death in the future, possibly. But if actual action was taken before any tragedies, because people actually stuck by what they said with passion, consistency, long before Noah's death, that if that was resolved, but then when, at the time Noah attended another party, if the rules were tighter, there was a greater focus and control, let's just say, not guaranteed, higher chances Noah would have been okay. Yeah, it's interesting. One-sided at times, important to some here, but not back then. Just like when people criticise my channel and coverage, oh, it's not important, it's irrelevant. Oh, but by the way, Warlike Raf, we'll use your live chat or we'll use some of your comment sections because that's newsworthy and we can prove our points with certain themes and stuff. So it's pick and choose when and when not, it's acceptable. That's not balanced, is it? It's very one-sided. But let's finish what Chell Ann was getting at. No parent at the party goers should be going around making threats to any of the kids, young adults from the parties. Wouldn't be stepping over the mark, over the boundaries. But then, and I don't want to sound negative, but like when you get Justin Roy, who is not a parent of a family member, oh, do you know what? Let's just reword that. Where Chell Ann says no parent of the partygoers should be going around making threats to any of the kids. It doesn't have to be just the parents. It could be other family members of an older age who did not attend the party, but are still connected to some of the partygoers. By stepping over the boundary, probably shouldn't be doing that. But if the dark side, if Stevie Howard, if Brooke Bounds Carter and some other people there are going to be told off and criticised for stepping on in, encroaching onto other partygoers and witnesses, supposedly, and being a force in an unnatural, bad, negative way, if they're going to get told off or criticised, then where does that stand with Justin Roy? That's not to be negative, it's just to put it in perspective. So it's okay what Justin Roy does because it's justice for Noah, but if certain members of partygoers, family members, parents from the dark side step on in too with a level of resistance back, that's bad, that's not acceptable. But certain ones from the light side can do whatever they want and push and go beyond and reach out to partygoers from the likes of an individual like Justin who did not attend the party, but has reached out to partygoers with time to ask questions, to get answers. That's okay. Okay. If Justin Roy is allowed to do that and it's deemed as a good thing, it shows Justin is passionate, he's trying his best, he's trying to get answers, he might be trying to encourage people to speak up as well and reach out to police and do all the good stuff, and the general public praise that, and he's not even a party goer himself, but he's encroaching on into the case and possible witnesses. Even if it's not intimidation, it's still like a presence. If that is accepted, then people from the dark side should be able to do the same thing and not be criticised. But once again, it seems a little one-sided. One side can do this and that. The other side, if they tried, they'll be punished or criticised. And that can go either way. But I just keep seeing so many one-sided takes. It's unfortunate. Michael Faiscar says, no, Tim. They've made it clear that they're sticking to their story of not knowing anything. That's called a witness. That's called a defendant in a future proceeding for withholding evidence. Michael Faiscar. And by the way, no one is calling any of them murderers. Wait. Oh my. No. really? But it's funny. And that whenever someone talks about foul play, they always assume they're talking about them. Guilty conscious much. Wait, Michael Facecast says, no one is calling any of the partygoers murderers. Oh, well, what I have to say to that, as a direct witness to seeing several comments by people on either the Army page or maybe at one point the case discussion page, and even on Reddit as well in the past, there was a range of people literally directly calling Jack Newton the murderer. He is the murderer. That's what people said. When I saw those comments, I felt really awkward, as in, oh, I'm glad I'm not in that position. I'm glad I'm not the one using those words, because it's so reckless, right? You got to be careful what you say, because if you're wrong, not only do you possibly do damage to that individual you accused of, but you might damage yourself down the line. There might be consequences, or you might just make yourself look like a bit of an idiot. And I've seen a lot of people boldly stating that Jack is responsible as the murderer. I've seen the Covents in the past and Dina Rose saying, oh yeah, and JJ Bumpaz, he's involved as one of the murderers of Noah Presgrove, and some other guys as well. Really bold statements by people. So for Michael to say no one is calling them murderers, absolutely a range of people over time have called certain partygoers murderers. I've seen it myself. I've seen the language, and it really is cringe-worthy, as in, not in a degenerative way, but just as in, oh, you know, it's unfortunate that you've put yourself in that situation, because it, you know, it could bite back. You know, it's like with me, I've got to be careful at times with my coverage, because put yourself out there and you're a bit more known that if you do say a particular line or word, it may hold weight and it may stick around for some time. But in the future, people may pick up on it or bring it back up, and it can be damaging and it can be rough. Even small scale stuff can be rough, but this is much bigger. So honestly, it all links back to the language, the wording, people making bold statements without the hard evidence, jumping the gun. It's just very reckless. And maybe a lot of people may get away with it and be off the hook and not punished, and okay, lucky them. But still, I mean, it's like when Justin Roy said 95% of the human race believe it's foul play. There's no proof or evidence of that. You could, obviously, based off one of the polls as evidence, a Facebook page group post in which not every member had participated in, but the majority, maybe 95%, had voted foul play. But, you know, you cannot be applying a small sample size of, an even smaller size of people that participate in a one poll on one Facebook page or group that would represent the entire population of this whole planet that feel it's foul play. You can't be saying that. There might be fair points to mention the possibility of foul play and it not quite adding up, fair enough, but to base one poll results which only have maybe a few hundred responses, that does not represent over millions and billions of people on this planet that think it's foul play, because not everyone has participated in that poll. So 95% in your small little poll results option, but it does not represent the entire human population out there. So it's just really, really, really reckless. And it's like, why are you doing it? Why are you using this wording? Because I'm looking at it more long term. Because if you do act out in a reckless way, you're only going to harm yourself more down the line, where you might get attacked more. And if you're trying to protect yourself or defend yourself and try and maintain your credibility and keep on pushing forwards, you kind of going backwards, undoing everything that you've already done or whatnot. So I just don't think people understand. Not everyone. Tim says, I can understand that perspective, Michael. I have a large folder of all the times they were directly called murderers. I mean, I don't have screenshots myself because I didn't think we would have to be in this situation, but I know with absolute confidence and certainty that I've seen people, just general public, accuse partygoers as being the murderer or the murderers, right? With those direct words. Or people saying, well, I think this girl or that girl actually whacked Noah on the back of the head. Well, no. Let's just change that slightly because I think that's an opinion and that's okay. But there'll be other people that would have said, without saying, in my opinion, without saying, I think, without saying an idea, a concept, some have flat out said, Carter Combs went up to Noah, whacked him on the head, then ran away, and then the others finished him off. As if it's a fact. Can be interpreted as you're basically saying Carter Combs is a murderer or part of the murdering. That's reckless as well. It's crazy. Tim Daniel says, we're directly called murderers. I just deleted what I wanted to say because Jack's mom sent me a really sweet message tonight telling me that despite the inconsistencies, Jack is also worried about Kaden Pressy. Out of respect for Jack and Sarah, I'll back off tonight. Ooh. What's this? Here's a sweet photo Sarah shared tonight. Let's remember what this is really about. A photo of Noah Presgrove and is that Jack Newton or so together in the past? Michael, I don't doubt you have a lot of large folders filled with all sorts of information and screenshots that make them out to be the victim, not Noah. It's kind of besides the point though. Do you agree? No, but I don't think the folders of files are full of saying, oh, well, the bad people are actually victims. No, it's mostly screenshots to show that there's been people in the community that have called out certain partygoers as being the murderers when there's no direct evidence or hard enough evidence to prove that. So reckless language. I think that's what Tim was getting at. Tim says to Michael, two things can be right, Michael. When a person is taken from this world too soon, they're obviously the victim. But when I hear Jack's mom tell me heartbreaking stories of the aftermath of the trauma all Noah's friends continue to suffer to this day, well, they're absolutely secondary victims. And if Sarah ever gives me permission, I'd like to share a story she's trusted me with. You might then see Noah's friends as also victims. You hear these abstracted accounts and snippets over a 3-day period. Noah and Jack spent their entire life together. The reason Sarah reached out to me was because she wanted these groups and wanted to ask me to relay that Noah and Jack's wrestling shorts were pretty much interchangeable for the last 10 years of his life. She wanted me to find a way to work that info into a post so people understood that best friends who play sports together don't think twice about grabbing each other's shorts. You'll see what I see hopefully one day. Is that a reference to counterpoints of tampering with the shorts or something? Michael Facecast, I'm not disagreeing that there are many victims. I'm just pointing out that one of Noah's friends who actually had the balls to speak up is being attacked on the daily basis, being told to shut up, he's a liar, don't show your face in public. And because I point this out, you feel it's important to contrast and compare it to other victims and dilute the harm caused to Kaden because he's not the only one. Do you think Kaden's treatment on the page/YouTube chat is warranted? Should he have to put up with intimidation? See, this is the thing. Kaden Pressy shouldn't have to put up with it. Kaden Pressy shouldn't be treated in that way. But if there was an ounce of like a feeling that that's what was going to happen in the first place, there would have been a way to avoid it. And that's just not put yourself out there in public in the first place. I mean, you should have the choice whether you want to put yourself out there in public in the first place or not. Just like how if you're going out in public, such as at night time, oh, don't go out there because bad things could happen. You could get attacked or harassed. So it's better just stay in while being a prisoner yourself or in your own mind. Should you have to think that way, be that way? No, you shouldn't. There'll be exceptions here and there, though, to, get the overall understanding. But, if you're in a really important, serious situation and there are ways about it in what you should or shouldn't do, but some stuff you do that you shouldn't, and then you're in harm's way, then you're in danger. Could things have been done differently in the first place? Likely, yes. And I just base it off Kaden's original point made. He will only reach out to people that need to know, not those that want to know. And yet Kaden is the biggest one out there for putting himself out there compared to other partygoers. So what does that say? That's not a criticism, it's just an observation. There's a massive contrast. Things can change with time, of course. What Kaden may have said back then, things have changed since putting himself out there. So there's that as well. What else, Michael? Do you think Kaden's treatment on the page is warranted? Yeah, a lot of people were affected. This does not justify witness intimidation, and that's exactly what this is. Tim, I promised Jack through his mom I would back off Kaden. Do you understand what I'm saying, Michael? Jack still cares a lot for Kaden, the guy who is mostly responsible for people thinking that Noah's best friend was involved in his death. Jack is putting aside the differences him and Kaden have and is asking us to back off Kaden. I don't think I could do that if I was in that situation. Could you? Speaks volumes about Jack's character. If Jack's current demeanour is any indication of Noah's taste in friends, there's no way we should go against that. Brooke is not Stevie. If Brooke wants to say you should be embarrassed to Kaden, well, she is the best friend of the two girls' mom who frequently get accused of being involved. No, this is not witness tampering, as Kaden is not a witness and Brooke is not threatening him by any legal definition. You want me to post selective screenshots from a different platform at the times you insinuated that you were the person harvesting IP addresses. Everyone can be called out of context. And of course, there'll be times where I'm not even out of context, but some people will desperately try and find a way to make me sound out of context. Just like when Pam ended up saying that Warlight Raff was humping a horse. Yet, when you're upon a horse and you're riding it and you're rocking with the motion, that's just movement. That's not humping. It was in context, it made sense, it was natural, and yet some person ended up using some kind of zoophilia fantasy. So it just goes to show that even when you've got it in context, people are desperate enough to find it out of context as well. So no one's safe. Michael, lol, calm down, Tim. I never harvested IPs illegally. I traced the IPs of people who were involved or suspected to be involved in crimes or covering them up. Second, Jack's character, please don't go there. I don't want to open that can of worms. Tim to Chal, which party girl do you think Brooke is the mother of? Yeah, that's not true, is it? Justin Roy to Tim, in my opinion, you're going to look really dumb when the truth comes out and Jack knew exactly what happened. Just remember that in my heart, I know he knows exactly what happened to his best friend. So you know in your heart, but you don't know through hard evidence. Is that what you mean? Or is there hard evidence in the background? Remember this picture when the truth comes out. Ciao. Jack's mum, Sarah, has been the only parent I've seen who has spoken nothing but kindly of Noah. Yes, even when Sarah Long said cold stuff, or it could have been interpreted in a cold way towards the outcome of Noah, and that's all I'm saying. Anyway, throughout everything, showing deep, genuine pain over his loss, respect for Sarah. Jack's father, on the other hand, I won't go there. So what has Jack's father, Caleb Newton, done? Like all the bad things? Can people bullet point that? I don't think that necessarily proves Jack cares for Kaden. It just shows me more likely Sarah does, which is more believable. I still have a lot of love and respect for my son's old high school best mate, and they're no longer friends, sadly. Okay. Sarah has values that I haven't ever seen in a single other parent of these kids. When you mention Jack putting aside differences and people going to back off Kaden, etc., has he come out and said this? Yeah, just asking because I haven't seen it. Amanda to Michael, here's what Noah's sister-in-law had to say about Jack. And I'll just zoom in for this one, maybe. Jessica Presgrove. Well, I've never seen this name individual before. To make things clear, Jack and Dalen were both being interviewed for nearly 2 hours last night. Majority of the interviews were cut. Both explain in great detail their views. We have been with Jack since the beginning and have had multiple conversations concerning this. Easy to point fingers and assume the absolute worst. Jack has been providing all the information that he knows and working with us to get more information. He's not hiding the fact that he was there, and he's willing to talk to anyone curious about the situation before accusing him. Just keep in mind that he has been one of the very few partygoers who have stepped out to help us with this. Yeah, maybe in the background. And then as for Kaden Pressy, more on a public level there. I'm just zooming out, or maybe not. It's kicked me off. Hate it when it does that. And this is why I don't like Facebook. So I'll just have to scroll down. Justin relentlessly calls Jack a murderer. Well, now it's homicide because he couldn't get murder to work since police said not investigating his murder. Always Despite all that, Jack has shown support for Justin's kid on social media. That says a lot. I'm not stupid, so please don't treat me as though. Brooke's definitely become a main character in all of the nastiness. That's what's said here. Currently not being investigated as a murder, so you basically mean it could change in the future. Yeah, and it's, to be honest, it's remarkable that Noah likely never anticipated this picture being featured on a page dedicated to uncovering the truth. Best friends with no involvement. Tim Daniel, I don't doubt you have a lot of large folders filled with all sorts of information screenshots that make them out to be the victim. When people are accused of a crime by someone on social media and they're innocent, they've not been accused by law enforcement, you think it's okay to defame them and expect them to not defend reputation? Wait, where's this actually going then? Right, it's going to go on and on and on. I don't want to look at them all. Just see what Judd says. Jack was my son's training partner too. Him and Noah took my son under their wings. I don't believe Jack would do this to Noah. Oh, but I think he knows more. So Justin, it could imply that Justin thinks that Jack knows who could be responsible, or someone who knows more. Okay. Now, why not share the message from my kids supposedly apologising? Where's that at? Oh, okay. We'll have to probably do a video about that at some other point. Or maybe we don't have to because it's just mentioned down below. Why don't both of you try to get the fake messages from my kids supposedly apologising? I know you have seen them, as Donna Bond claims to have seen them. This is about me and my kids, and I think I have a right to them or to the message. You claim you want to end all the rumours and false accusations, so end this right now. And then down below, Cecily Patton says, you know what is insane to me? I saw this week text messages from Justin Roy's kids to numerous partygoers apologising to them for his words and behaviour. They said they know they had nothing to do with Noah's death and that they're incredibly embarrassed at how Justin acts and what he says, and asked that they forgive them for what things their fathers have said. I think Justin needs to follow his own kids' advice. I felt so bad for the kids. It truly was so sad. Well, this particular comment, talking about text, but no hard evidence at this moment in time to show that. Donna to Justin, don't tag me in your battles. Why do you insist on dragging everyone else into a shit show you create? How many times do we have to talk about this? You claimed you saw them. Donna, everyone's fixing to see them. Post them, Justin says. Tim, I have not seen them. I already told you. I've not seen them. I do believe it is possible that someone would send condolences to a person who might have been a training partner, but I have no idea who Cecily is. Frankly, I'm not feeling very much like doing your research for you. Well, there we go. Justin, Donna claims y'all have seen them. Is this true or not? Don't backpedal now, or maybe Donna saw them but insinuated multiple people. I assumed you just tagged you in a post. All these people that liked this post need to find out the truth. Question, have they seen the messages? Who liked the post? Courtney, Gobble, Whitney, Sandra, Shelley, Melanie, Jamie Woodmansey. I've heard of Jamie Woodmansey. They were in a group chat at one point from a certain screenshot, I think. But the others I don't know. Did you not post on it? No one has to backpedal with your dumb ass. You destroy yourself. Tim Daniel says, backpedal? You're pissing me off tonight, Justin. I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about in any shape or form. You've asked me this like 6 times now. Are you okay? I have no idea why the name is included in this conversation. Donna didn't tag me. You tagged me in a post on a completely different subject. I don't know Cecily for the 6th time. I barely have ever chatted with Donna. Do you want my opinion on that comment from like 2 weeks ago? What's the big deal? I could see a hypothetical situation since you are pushing me to think of hypotheticals where your kid sends a message to say his old training partner Jack saying something like, hey buddy, offering my condolences. And he goes on and on and on. But never happened. Oh my God, it just keeps going on and on. What's this all about? Toad and Pam, let me know how that worked out for y'all. Tim Daniel, let me know my page is open for everyone to discuss. Text messages, sick of the black ops. Listen up, folks. I'm not worried about anything that Jan, also known as Toad, or Pam, also known as Leichman, releases to that idiot because it's half-arsed, so let them run with it. It's still kind of like lacking context for me in a way. Just my opinion. Oh, there we go. And it kicks me off again. I don't know how to zoom out on here efficiently. Oh my God. There's a lot going on, isn't there? What the F is this? Isn't this Donna talking about Jan and Pam? Jan and Pam? Oh no. Do you know what? I'm getting a bit bored. No offence. Because I do want to add my analysis on. Mika Steffens, first of all, I see no threat, simply heated discussion to me. What's this about? Goes in hand with the suck my nuts comment that made more than once. Oh, I think Kaden may have mentioned that reference. Ooh, spazzing out all over the place now. Beth Carr, sad how they treat Kaden Pressy when all he's doing is seeking justice for Noah, and they should be doing and think, okay. Right. Oh, hold on. There's a reference to me. Michelle Ray Brummett, yes, Warlight Ref's live chats have become a platform for this. My live chats aren't exactly a platform. I am not the platform. YouTube is the platform. Right, there's a bit of a difference there. Disappointing. What's this, Michelle? Really sad. I expect there's going to be a movement against him because of it. He can't control what people are saying or doing. I saw something about needing a moderator. Maybe that could curb it. Having a moderator would cause more problems, guaranteed. I can say that with great confidence because it's gone wrong in the past. And I've seen it with other people. So it could be interpreted that I, despite doing it from 2013, suppose as a content creator, don't know what I'm doing, but people who've got no experience seem to know more than me. Okay. What I see here is total hypocrisy. So it's okay for Brooke to think Kaden is lying, but it is okay for tons of people to say Jack is lying. Like one-sided. Okay, that's pretty much it. Right. I know we said we were going to look at Jan Fiorillo's comment, but I can basically summarise that in a few minutes. The reason why we're not going to get into Jan's comment right now, no disrespect, is just because it's too long. With the comment section of what I saw just then, and it went on and on and on, back and forth, it was just a bit of like a broken record in a way. Not aimed at anyone in particular there. But Jan Fiorillo's comments tend to be very long, which you can say credit to them. You know, for Jan Fiorillo to spend the time typing it up, it does require effort and a level of care and consideration with what's being said. So shout out to Jan Fiorillo for that. And hopefully humans in the background that may detest me, hopefully acknowledge and understand that I do mention positives about the likes of Justin Roy, positives about Kaden, positives about Alicia, positives about Jan Fiorillo and other people with time. Positives about some other people who have actually detested me. Just goes to show I might not be quite on the same level as positivity and niceness as the likes of Sharon is in chat, who's one of the best examples out there in regard to a good person and beyond. But, you know, there's times where I do have to put my foot down for good reason. But basically what Jan Fiorillo was getting at is you got Kaden Pressy, who's put himself out there, done what he's done, said what he's got to say and what he knows of and what he can remember and much more, trying to help in people's understanding and more. Does he have to do it though? Does he really have to? No. So it's like his own personal choice. He's of a correct formal age to be doing so. He's not underage, so he can. And I guess with, even if being lawyered up in the background, he's able to do and say certain stuff, as we've learned with time. And even, you know, some private things which have been leaked with time, maybe Kaden hasn't made a reference or kind of purposely ignores that because whilst it has been made public, he's not allowed to talk about it. Even though it's already out there, just can't be talking about it, confirming whether it's true or not. to protect the case for legal reasons. If so, okay, fair enough, understandable. It's just an unfortunate situation, something like that had been leaked. See, at the end of the day, it shouldn't be that difficult. But when it comes to Kaden Pressy, if it wasn't for his leaked police interview, if that remained private, there wouldn't be the same level of skepticism as there is right now towards Kaden. There wouldn't be as much questioning, there wouldn't be as much suspicion, there wouldn't be as much criticism, if you want to call it that. That you would have had Kaden Pressy's Partners in True Crime Part 1 interview, and that's it. Forget about the Part 2 Never Seen Before one. Let's say that didn't exist. And let's say that private police recorded interview, the 2024 one, remained private. We would be oblivious to the inconsistencies, right? Oblivious. And if Kaden Pressy didn't even put himself out there in the first place publicly, then we just wouldn't have anything to really work with. Similar to how other partygoers have gone about things. Have other partygoers been attacked the same way as Kaden Pressy? Maybe not in some ways, just because partygoers haven't put themselves out there as much for criticism, for attacks, like how Kaden has spoken out more vocal, and stands out more based off his timeline. At the end of the day, whether you put yourself out there or not, if you get attacked, that's unfortunate. It shouldn't be like that. If you're putting yourself out there to try and help and you get pushed away, that's messed up. But if you get people from the dark side, because honestly, the flow of all of this, there is so much going around that I can't just structure it one after another. It's just mention what comes to my head as for a pure observation firsthand. But I would say with time, as I might have said, some people lack patience, but what I've come across in my opinion and perspective is, when it's come to the dark side that may pass on material, it's being done in a slightly more calmer, less forceful way. Other times from other areas, it's been, do this, Raf, do that, Raf, you better do it right now, come on, we're going to use emotional language and manipulation to make you feel bad so you do something about it, Raf. That's not natural. So, no direct examples, okay, because it's not going to help the situation, but I just feel that with time, some people from the dark side that have reached out to me have been more patient, as in the ideas or the material, as in what could be done, not what should be done. Not a demand, but a suggestion or a possible request. And in terms of what can be shown or can't be, it's like, well, you could do this, you could adjust that, you could possibly do this, it would be helpful, it would be appreciated, we can negotiate, that's okay, no, that's fine. It's calm. Who would have thought it? Being amongst within the storm of darkness, it's most calm. That really says a lot, doesn't it? We could go in more deeper with symbolisms and meanings. You could argue and say, is the dark side really the dark side, or is the true dark side amongst the light that is corrupted and brought a shade over? Interesting. It gets very dark, it gets very deep. But that's just an observation that some people from the dark side haven't been as forceful towards me. But people from other directions have been a little bit more forceful, or emotional language manipulation has been used on me, which is unfortunate. But to refer back to Kaden Pressy's situation, he's put himself out there. And what we'll do, we'll mention the positives first, just so you get the little balance. When Kaden Pressy puts himself out there, it can help just the general public in learning about the case from someone's first-hand experience, or just as a person of interest that was present. But it will still be somewhat limited because Kaden didn't see everything. He only saw certain aspects or heard certain things. The most important moments and events leading up to Noah's death and beyond, Kaden wasn't there in the moment. Kaden was asleep. So he's not going to know that much. And that applies to other partygoers as well. Then You got to be trying to seek to the ones that may know more, the ones who are truly witnesses. And who is really a witness in this case? There's a lot of persons, people of interest, geographically speaking, in proximity to where Noah was at a certain time. Connection-based friendships, acquaintances and whatnot. Links, connections with others who may know of something in regard to Noah. A person of interest may know or be friends with a witness. That's what qualifies them as a person of interest. Get information from the witness, passes it on, then passes it on elsewhere. Interesting. But, you know, you got, what, 10, 15 people at the party around the time when Noah was about to walk away. How many people were around when Noah was isolating himself? How many people were around when Noah died? They would be witnesses to that. See, you can have maybe Logan, Jack, and Avery as witnesses in regard to possibly witnessing Noah walking away from the party as a standalone event. Avery, maybe Carter, and anyone else, witnesses to the bedroom debacle. Not like major stuff, but key components leading up to Noah's death. What makes Kaden a witness? Kaden Pressy a witness to Noah Presgrove reaching out to him, wanting a ride back home. At that moment, wanting to go home. In a short space of time, overhearing Kaden and Noah were asking other people for a ride home. How true is that? To an extent, it could well be true. People can say it's hearsay because we're just hearing it from a witness, but in their words, we're not seeing it through their eyes in the moment. If we had hard evidence is what complements these witnesses. Hard evidence is what can back up what the witnesses saw or heard at the time. That's why you need both. The exceptions are you don't have to have a witness. You can have a piece of hard evidence like a CCTV camera, which acts as the witness at the time and then displays who was present and who was there. And that can help people or it can incriminate others. So really, at times there's a lack of hard evidence in this case, but there's an over-reliance on hearsay from certain witnesses because they're deemed as a witness, or a person of interest, so there must be true in what they say. But that's not always exactly the way it will be. So it's very messy, the situation. At the end of the day, it's good that Kaden Pressy has put himself out there, and you could say it's brave what Kaden has done. Just in general, when you put yourself out there online, on the internet, it can be shark-infested waters. It doesn't have to be a case. You don't have to be a person of interest or a witness to anything. It doesn't even have to do anything with crime or legal stuff. It can be you're simply online or on social media, and when you put yourself out there, a comment, a profile picture, a photo, a post, anything else in between, a video uploaded, there can be criticism, there can be bullying, there can be harassment, there can be stalking, there can be weird obsessions, attacks, threats, and anything and everything else in between. All you have to do is say hi, and then you could get all kinds of dodgy messages and whatnot. But if you're if you're aware and alert to what stuff could come from that by putting yourself out there, but you're doing it for a particular reason, and you value that more than all the side effects, consequences that could come with you, that's a positive. Shows a level of resilience, which Kaden Pressy has. If Kaden Pressy, we're still experiencing trauma from the past and having a therapist, if that still applies now or back then, dealing with a lot of ongoing stuff, long-lasting scars, but Kaden still finding a way or time to relive it in hopes of getting justice for Noah, relive it in hopes of teaching people online the supposed truth. That's all positive. And by being resilient, despite being questioned, countered, questioned over and over, maybe criticised at times, as some would call it, gaslighted supposedly, but Kaden remains strong and keeps on pushing, and more so in recent time has actually started engaging in the chat, such as here, amongst other people that may not get on well with Kaden or see eye to eye. But Kaden's pushing himself out there even more now than he was before. And bad things may be happening now to Kaden, supposedly, and some are interpreting it as witness intimidation. But is there ever a point or time where there might be danger ahead, or an environment where if you put yourself in, bad things are going to happen, so it's best to stay out of it? See, this is the thing, this like mentality, like if you had a zoo enclosure, a lion's den full of hungry lions, tigers, a lioness, and any other wild animals in between, you're on the other side, you're safe, no consequences. Are you going to go out of your way to open that door, go into that enclosure, surround yourself with lions, lionesses, and tigers, get torn apart and shredded, and then spectators nearby say, oh, how could the lions do that? That's unfair on the person who's in the enclosure. They need protection. They need this. They need justice. How dare the animals do that? Could it have been prevented? Yes. Was it inevitable that bad things were going to happen the moment you step foot in a high danger zone level? Yeah. If you knew what you were getting yourself involved in, then you shouldn't be complaining afterwards. You kind of done it to yourself. And now, I know humans will like to jump at that line and try and twist it, but just hold on a second, because it links back to the original point that whilst Kaden Pressy may be a little bit frustrated with the way he's being treated at times, he's not making a big song and dance about it, to my knowledge. He's just continuing on and saying what he says and what he believes in and what he believes is the truth, and remaining consistent, true to himself, supposedly. Kaden Pressy isn't making a big song and dance and deal publicly about being harassed or intimidated or absolutely threatened. He's not doing it all the time, and he's not doing it in bold capital letters. So if Kaden puts himself in dangerous situations and that's his choice, he's not complaining about it. That is good. That is good reasoning ability. But then when you've got spectators and supporters on behalf of Kaden that are doing the public outrage on behalf of him, I don't see how much good that's really doing, in my opinion. You could say, well, it's highlighting the injustice, it's highlighting how unfair the situation is for Kaden. Yes, but from an outer perspective, it's like if Kaden can deal with it and Kaden is okay with it, and Kaden, despite the consequences that can come with it, is okay in putting himself in certain tense situations around bad people that may not get on with him, if Kaden is okay with all of that and he doesn't complain afterwards, then why should third-party people be outraged then? If the original individual is okay, has it under control, and knows what they're doing, does he need parrots and vultures going at the situation and others? People will greatly and likely misunderstand what I'm getting at there, more so a language barrier. And no, we're not talking about being lost in translation. We're talking about the language, the vocabulary, the style, the interpretation. What goes on in here will not be on the same wavelength as other people out there. It is what it is. I can only explain it so many times, and that's pretty much it. But you could say, to an extent, Kaden knows what he's getting himself into, such as surrounding himself if there's bad people about or people he won't get on well with. If there's a way to avoid it, to protect yourself, then maybe you should do that. But Kaden wants to be here or wants to be there for a reason. Kaden wants to share his side, what he knows of his timeline, for a reason. There's a reason behind his words or actions, which is good. But then when you get third-party people almost doing the talking for Kaden, isn't that like how the dark side could say, well, Alicia doing the talking for Kaden? It's like, can't Kaden do his own thing? Can't Kaden speak for himself? Can't Kaden experience the positives and the negatives that come with it by himself? Kaden is old enough and you could say somewhat smart enough to know what he's doing or what needs to be done or what shouldn't be done, where he needs to be, what he wants to do, what he likes, what he dislikes. Does he need to be monitored? Does he need to be wrapped in cotton wool? Does he need to be like suppressed and held back by other people, third-party ones who have got an emotional attachment to Kaden in an unnatural way? Are some people holding back Kaden Pressy? They're trying to protect and support him, but it's too much holding him back in a way, like chains on someone. It gets very deep. I don't know if people are on that level just yet in terms of my wavelength, but I'm sure there'll be a handful of people in the live chat that will kind of understand where I'm getting at. See, at the end of the day, if other party goers did the same thing as Kaden Pressy, there is a fair chance, for example, me, I'll be in a range of videos questioning possible inconsistencies with Kaden, but the exact same for the other party goers. There's a fair chance that that's what could happen. Then it could mean that both sides detest me, but it is what it is, then that you get that full balance. But, you know, there might be some party goers that support Kaden or come up with the same stuff, which would really help, but they're not willing to come out public because they fear that they may be attacked or questioned, bad things may happen to them, so they're put off from doing it. But it all comes down to personal choice. See, at the end of the day, if you didn't reach out for help in the first place, you don't really owe the general public anything to start off with, right? And if you're involved in a case as a person of interest, or if not more, a witness, then there'll be some things and actions you just can't do or say online, and you need to keep to yourself or keep your head down. You've got a level of self-control, that's what you will do. So could you monitor the levels of activity online, as in who speaks out more, who does more, who's more proactive, as in a less person of interest, a less of a witness, because they haven't got the same constraints as some other partygoers do, because they may know more or see more and they keep quiet? Could interpret that. See, at the end of the day, it's a lose-lose situation. It's like with drama and conflict. You keep silent, you keep quiet, you move on, you get on with what's more important. That's deemed by some people as, oh, because you're silent, silence equals suspicion. You're too afraid to admit or respond. You're trying to hide, it's cowardly. Oh, we can see through the silence as guilt. But then other times, people that may respond back immediately. Oh, this person's all defensive, responding back over small petty stuff. Well, clearly this person's triggered by it and outraged that there must be some truth in it. We must have touched a nerve. So really, at the end of the day, if you remain silent and you move on with what's important, silence is deemed being guilty. And if you respond back to address the situation, it's seen as we've touched a nerve, we got a reaction out of them, so there must be some truth within it. You can't win. At times when you're a creator or an influencer online and you're involved in drama or dragged into drama, no matter what action you do, likely you will always be in a lose-lose situation. That's just how it is. The same can apply to witnesses in a case. You keep quiet, you don't speak out publicly online, you're deemed suspicious. Oh, Kaden Pressy put himself out there. Oh, so what's this measuring tool? See, the Kaden Pressy measuring tool is a real thing. Kaden himself will be like, I don't care. I don't give a damn. I'm doing what I want to do, what I think's needed and what's best. Fair enough. Let Kaden do what he needs to do and what he thinks best. Put Kaden aside and measure the general public that are emotionally attached to Kaden in a slightly unnatural or biased way, as in the outlook of how things go from there, and the difference between levels of what's acceptable and what's not, and then compared to some of the dark side areas of other parts goes. See, at the end of the day, the way it is to interpret like some outlooks, general outlooks from certain areas and communities is, and this isn't coming from my mouth, this is me almost like being like a spirit box, okay? Beep, boop, beep, boop. Yeah, I'm channeling some spirits right now. Is Johnny Depp there? Johnny Depp, where's the ram gone? No? Oh, it's just Tim Daniel. Close enough. But no, let's just focus in right now. The mentality is, because Kaden Pressy put himself out there, even though it was his choice to do so. Because Kaden put himself out there, then that must mean that every other party goer has to follow the same rules, has to do the same thing as what Kaden did. But now there is an expectation, there is a demand that one individual that decides to post and talk and do interviews online, that must mean every other party goer has to do the exact same thing, because if they don't, then they're suspicious, they're guilty, they're possibly murderers, end of. That is the mentality, how it is. And the moment when others may criticise, question, mention discrepancies with Kaden's Partners in True Crime timeline interview, part 1 and or part 2, then compare it to the leaked June private 2024 interview with police, the moment people pick up on that and mention the discrepancies as a valid observation, not even as a negative, just a valid observation. You say one time here, you say a different time there. Either that's right or that's right. They can't both be right. The moment you do that, people from the light side say, why are you attacking Kaden Pressy? Why are you being so nasty? Why are you threatening him? Why are you intimidating him? Why are you such a meanie? Kaden has put himself out there. Kaden has put his life on the line for this. And, you know, the way you're acting and treating him is very rude and very bad. How dare you do that? Just remember, like what I've done in some ways, it's not exclusive and it's not personal to Kaden. What I've done is exactly what I would do to anyone else, as in mentioning the observations, the discrepancies, the inconsistencies. I would do the exact same to Jack Newton if there was enough of it. I do the exact same to Carter Combs or Avery Combs or, you know, other party goers. If other party goers, by their own choice, not forced to, not manipulated to, but if other party goers made the decision, maybe earlier on or now, to put themselves out there because they wanted to, because they felt it would be a good thing, and if in the process doing so, similar to like Kaden Pressy, if they did slip up or if there were inconsistencies, I would lock onto it and I would question it. But you know why I don't? Because I can't. And you know why I can't? Is because they haven't put themselves out there the same way as Kaden Pressy has. So it might come across as one-sided, you know, the critiques, the observations towards Kaden, it's not personal, it's just that there is more to work with. See, I don't think it was intended by Kaden at the end of the day, but what Kaden has done is by putting himself out there, not as a negative, not as a criticism towards him, but what he's indirectly done is dug himself into a hole in which then it will fill up with a lot of questions and issues along the way. It would have been greatly minimized, reduced, if that police interview was never leaked. We would be completely ignorant and blind to it, but there'd be less questions and there'd be less discrepancies. See, other party goers that have cooperated in the background with police, if you used to compare what those interviews were like, then compare it to another interview they may have done at a different point or time, there could be some inconsistencies. You never know. Just like the Kaden Pressy situation, from one interview to another, there are discrepancies. The same, not guaranteed, but just as a possibility, could apply to Jack Newton or Carter Combs or Avery or Logan or Jasmine Millan. Not being personal, just putting it out there as full perspective. If Kaden Pressy didn't put himself out there in the first place publicly, then Kaden wouldn't be attacked, or not as much. See, the way I see it, if you don't put yourself out there as much, but you are equally attacked as like what Kaden is, then there is a greater problem there. Because if you're not putting yourself out there in the first place, you're not asking for it to begin with, you're not teasing it, you're not, indirectly bringing it onto you. And obviously, a line like that could be definitely misinterpreted as in, oh, if you dress a certain way and you're outside, you're asking for it. That's how people could twist it and make it sound really negative. How dare you say that? Obviously, I'm not saying it like that. See, what do I look like when I'm standing up? It doesn't really show, but At the end of the day, for example, me, if I'm wearing a top outside and if the nipples were hard and showing, and if anyone made a reference to it, would it bother me? No. Am I asking for it? I'm not thinking that. I'm just wearing it because I want to. No big deal. Not that deep at the end of the day. But I'm just giving you like a random little example. But to refer back to, you know, perfect, I've just thought of it, I'll apply it to me. Bad things have happened to me over time, and I didn't even do anything bad in the first place. I didn't bring it upon me. I didn't ask for it. I didn't control this. I didn't control that. And that I keep to myself. So you would think that if an individual keeps to themselves, literally keeps to themselves, low profile, don't want to cause any trouble, don't want to cause any issues, keep your head down, literally, not even any eye contact, not even any words spoken, just pure silent, keeping to yourself, quiet, ghost-like, you'd think not as much bad would happen. No. Bad did happen. Bad came one's way. If you have your house door locked and everything, and bad still has the cheek to come your way and break through, kind of like as a symbolism, that's problematic. If you have a house, it might look good and the door is wide open and there might even be a sign saying, come in. You could welcome all kinds of stuff within and badness can follow. But there was a way to control it in the first place. But through that recklessness and that openness, brought it on yourself, maybe not directly, but it still happened. If you do everything you can to ensure that bad does not come your way, and yet bad still comes your way, that's worse, that's more frustrating. So if you've got party goers that consciously make the decision to not reach out much online, not put themselves out there online in the first place, not even appear in public interviews, they keep a low profile. And if bad still has the cheek to come their way as a form of harassment, online, in real life, threats, damage to property, that is worse than if a person put themselves out there online and surrounded themselves in shark-infested waters where it's inevitable that bad is going to come their way. Shouldn't be happening in the first place for anyone, but there are some people maybe worse off just because of the circumstances or the situation that they're in. If they keep to themselves and they don't engage online, but bad still finds a way to find them. But then another individual that does actually make a decision to put themselves out there online, more of a beacon in terms of attracting darkness your way. If you can find methods to control, reduce that darkness coming your way, that's good. But if it still comes your way at the great force it is, and you've done everything that you can, you're doing everything right, then there's a greater problem. That's what I would say in my opinion. But there is a bit of a measuring tool that when Kaden Pressy does this, it means that everybody else has to do the same. But everyone should have the decision and choice whether they want to put themselves out there online or not. You know, if you're a person of interest, if you're a witness with what you can and can't say, what you can and can't do, everyone should have the choice whether they want to engage online, if they want to reach out to the general public or not. See, if you get some people that have reached out to the general public for help in the first place, desperately, and then they've got the cheek to push the general public away and say, I don't need you, I don't want you, and then insult them. Yeah, that's a bit rude and problematic that you reached out to the general public in the first place and now this is how you treat them. But if you never asked for anything in the first place and you never reached out in the first place, you don't owe the general public anything. If certain party goers or witnesses never reached out to the general public in the first place, never relied on the general public for a platform or voice, then why should they be forced to owe the public any answers? Yes, it could make the whole situation easier in terms of the general public's understanding and learning of the case, but it all comes down to choice, what people want to do. As for Kaden Pressy, Kaden made the choice to put himself out there. Did Kaden Pressy make the choice to be attacked? No. Is Kaden Pressy deserving of being attacked? No. Should people be able to control themselves better? Yes. But does it only apply one way? No. It applies both ways. Because there'll be people on the light side and at times on the dark side that may have not been able to control themselves appropriately. So it's not just one-sided, it's both ways. But you know, it's just a mess in general. But when there are moments where it seems a bit one-sided or there's a bit of double standards, there's a problem. And maybe I'll just finish it off with one final point is, and I can always reiterate it in the future, with this breakdown in communication, there is a dysfunction in understanding, there is a dysfunction in communication, there is a dysfunction in people misinterpreting stuff, there is a dysfunction in more impetuous mindsets now, there is a dysfunction in true colours being shown now, that there is no point in even trying to move forwards or progress at this moment in time when it's so unstable and such a mess that these current problems that have been listed or addressed need to be somewhat resolved or managed before you even move forwards. Because if it's not resolved and you try moving forwards, what's true, what's not, who can you trust, who can't you trust, when will it break down again? See, if you've got a mirror which has cracked and shattered since, you could glue it all back together, but you will never be able to remove those scarred lines which run deep through that glass, and those shards, a constant reminder of instability and forever fragmented, that it's now weakened now compared to what it was originally, basically meaning that in the future, things can implode on itself greater than it did to start off with. So once it's fragmented, pretty much game over. I've seen it before in the past. So what can you do? Where you could provide a bit of perspective to say, whilst it is broken, it's not broken beyond repair. Adjustments can be made to get a slightly better outcome. It might not be as stable as it was to start off with, but with the perspective, it can just bring in a little bit more balance so it won't break as easy or as quickly as if there wasn't any perspective. So maybe that can be reserved for a separate video. But as for the situation with Justin Roy and what's going on there, if there needs to be a follow-up video, then maybe that can be done so. But see, another one-sidedness is, if I cover drama from the light side, that's seen as acceptable and good work by Warlight Ref, whether it's got anything to do with the Noah Presgrove case or not. The moment I cover drama or conflict from the dark side or my own self, then I'm deemed as making a mockery of the case, or it's not professional, or it's not good what I'm doing. I'm a bad person. It's embarrassing. And with time, I'm seeing more and more now the levels of one-sided behavior, double standards, and or hypocrisy, that when I see that within humans, in my mindset, they become a lost cause. That's it. Game over. Humans become dead to me. It is what it is. But I still continue on. The videos do as well. The awareness definitely continues on, for sure. And with time, eventually, if people want a prediction, the prediction is, with time, through cancer being activated within humans, not the disease itself or the illness, but more so a cancerous mindset, personality, attitude, that stuff. Once that's activated by the catalyst warlike exorcist Ref, that eventually with time there will be cleansing, eventually. It's happened in previous cases, it will happen again. Just takes a bit of time, okay? So that's my prediction. Hopefully you found the video somewhat interesting. I will say though, because there's so many points to mention, it's hard to keep up with everything. I do believe it was good what Kaden Pressy did in the early stages with what he had to say and putting himself out there. But ever since that leaked interview came about, that wasn't Kaden's fault, it being leaked. It was other people responsible for it. So unfortunately, other people, reckless or not, screwed Kaden over, which has ever since led to more people questioning Kaden. So you've got to understand that as well. But for Kaden to do what he did, he provided a bit of perspective, and you were learning and understanding at the time when others weren't willing to talk or open up. So from a general public perspective, it's good what Kaden did. But in doing so, he kind of put himself in harm's way, but he was willing to go through that in order to help the situation with Noah. I think There was either an interview or a quote by Kaden that said, "Regardless of what happens to me, even if it's bad, I want to keep on pushing onwards." Which is, some people could say, well, that's more of a friend than Jack is to Noah then, considering Kaden is just a friend and not a best friend like Jack is. That was like a little comparison point that was mentioned in the past, that's all. But still, it's good what Kaden did. It's just unfortunate with what's happened since with the leaked interview and the inconsistencies showing. You've got to question it, because if you don't question it and you say, oh, it doesn't matter, it's okay, but by the way, Jack Newton's inconsistencies are bad, well, then that's one-sided. If you mention and acknowledge someone's inconsistencies because you don't like them or you don't trust them, but someone who you've got emotional connection with, you will be more lenient towards them in their inconsistencies. Oh, well, it's just a mistake. Oh, it's just fine-tuning. It'll be fine. It'll be okay. Don't worry. That's one-sided. That's a problem in itself and beyond. If Kaden's friends or once friends and other people in similar situations who may have been asleep or resting at the time, just like how Kaden was, if they were able to speak up publicly, that would help Kaden Pressy out so much, and it could help the general public out so much. That's what's needed, but likely it will never happen. Some may not reach out because they don't want to be attacked themselves, or they may fear for their life. And some of us in between may just not reach out because they don't think it's the best thing to do and they need to protect themselves. And there might be some constraints, there might be some limitations, legal reasons why they can't say or do this or that online. But Kaden could. But other people can't. Depends how you look at it. There might be more things that needed to be mentioned or talked about, but there's only so much time, is there not? And we can always follow up in the future if needed. But more double standards by the day, more one-sided by the day. At the end of it, Kaden Pressy should not be attacked or intimidated. Jack Newton should not be attacked or intimidated or boldly accused of being the murderer when there's no hard evidence at this moment in time. Avery, Carter, Logan, Jasmine, Stephanie, and any other people in between, because I can't remember everybody's names, shouldn't be attacked, threatened, or intimidated like that. Whether it's happened yet or not, it just shouldn't happen to begin with. Because the way I see it, in a very neutral way, you attack, you threaten, you push people away. Whether they're innocent or guilty, if you push people away, you've burnt down a bridge, you've burnt down an opportunity to get more out of them. You push them too far away, they go underground, you don't know where they are now, you don't know what they're doing, you don't know what they're thinking or what may happen next. You've wasted opportunities, you've wasted ways of learning. People have already done that when it's come to, we want Snapchats, we want photos, we want more material, we want more hard evidence, but at the same time, we're going to act out in reckless ways. We're going to push people away, we're going to burn bridges down, and then we're going to complain about why we haven't got that material. But then Warlike Raph steps on in, continues on with what he's doing. From the light side perspective as well, somehow still manages to bring in the dark side that has an understanding and a level of patience, as in that balance is needed, even if the light side believe that the dark side don't have balance, but the dark side does acknowledge balance from my perspective at least. But then it leads to bridges, doors opening up, material coming through, never seen before. I provide, I present, I analyse, I put into contrast and comparisons and much more. New opportunities of learning about the case. New opportunities in looking at different points of views from the party and beyond. That's good, isn't it? But other people have denied that because of their own actions and behaviour. So if it wasn't for me being present, but other people continue to be reckless, a range of different posts or photos or screenshots would probably still be private till this day, and people wouldn't have learned as much. Puts that into perspective as well. So my name is Warlike Raph. Thanks for watching. Hopefully the chat was on somewhat good behaviour. And if it wasn't, well, I'm sure outsiders that do complain and say, well, oh, it's all going downhill. It's all going to go wrong in the future for Raph. Other humans in the past said the same thing. I'm still here. I must be doing something right. My name is Warlike Raph. Be sure to hit the like button, share the video so more people see it. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Good night for now.